What is going on, everyone? I just gave a whole intro and my mic was muted the entire time. The entire time the mic was muted. But I'm super pumped. Welcome to another live stream. Very pumped today because I have my buddy Chris joining us. So you're not just listening to me talk the entire time. We got someone that has run very successful multi-million dollar ecom brands. Me and Chris go back a little bit. We met each other kind of at the earlier stages of our entrepreneurial journeys. And Chris is an absolute expert when it comes to ecom, when it comes to Facebook marketing and advertising. He's the guy that I personally go to whenever I have any questions regarding e-commerce or scaling businesses with Facebook ads. So I'm really excited to bring him on today. Make sure to come prepared with your questions in regards to e-commerce, scaling with Facebook ads. He is the guy. So let me bring him on. What's going on, Chris?
How's it going, Mike? That was a great muted intro.
Thanks, man. I've only been doing this for 34 weeks.
That's good. You'll get it.
Like I said, we keep it scrappy here. Again, everyone joining on Instagram, get on YouTube. That's if you want to see Chris and ask some questions. So Chris, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you taking the time. I'm excited to do this because I think a lot of the conversations that we have and just from knowing you and seeing the things that you've built, it's pretty awesome. So I think there's a lot of value to anyone that's watching, not just on the ecom side, but again, like I said in the intro, like you're the guy I go to when I have any questions about scaling anything with Facebook ads. I know pre-pandemic, you kind of started helping us try to get started with Facebook ads and the pandemic happened. So I guess without going too much into detail with your background, why don't you just give the quick overview of what you do and your background?
Yeah, definitely. So I've been doing e-commerce for about 5 years now. Right after I graduated college, had no idea what I was doing. Honestly, sat down with pretty humble beginnings, started Googling how to do e-commerce. Took a job at Amazon for a little while, and then ended up moving in with a group of guys in sort of a mastermind type environment where we were all running e-commerce businesses. And I've lived with that group now for going on 4 years, 3.5 years. And during that time, it's been completely transformational for myself and my own career, and also the businesses that myself and my business partner have built. So in that time, over the past 2 years now, we've just my partner and I alone have done over $10 million in sales collectively as a group. I don't even know what the total number is, but a lot of our success has come from being in that mastermind environment where we are constantly talking about Facebook ad strategies, products, and site optimization, just living and breathing it 24/7. So
yeah, we shared a room for a little, Chris.
Yeah, that was a great time. That was a dark time in my life. I was back at the very beginning. I got woken up by Mike every morning shouting my name. Like this is not where I saw myself, but things turned
That's
around.
pretty weird.
Yeah, it was pretty weird.
But what I do want to say though is what Chris is talking about, like anyone can go do this. Like, and I'll say the same thing. Like there is, and before I had met you, Chris, I lived in a house. Like I rented a house and we had our entire Parking Bee team, which was pretty much the tech team. A couple people also lived in that house. I cannot stress enough how much value is brought when you bring a bunch of entrepreneurs together and you all live together. It's much different than just like going to some stupid like networking event. Like when you actually live with other entrepreneurs that are doing cool shit, that put their life, blood, sweat, and tears into their business, like it just like 5x's, I would say, your growth. And that was big for me too, living with you guys, and then before that, living in the house that we had up at State College. And you guys have a place in Miami right now, right?
Yeah, we're in Fort Lauderdale. And what I would tag onto that is even if it's not feasible for you, especially with COVID or for whatever reason, to physically live with that group, it's still extremely important, especially as a starting off entrepreneur, to find your network. And not just a network as like, a Facebook group or community, like find your like tribe of like 5, 6, 7 people that you can trust with your life essentially, and that are all going through the same thing as you, Like your friends that are working 9 to 5s and stuff, and that's the career path for them. That's great for them. That's not the group that you want to have in your tribe. You want to have people that are committed to making the same kind of decisions, taking the same kind of risks as you, and just lock in with them. And it's going to make a huge difference.
It's a big difference because like because I have those friends, like I have the 9 to 5 friends. The majority of my friends run their own businesses. And I like to spend the majority of my time with those people because the conversations are different. Like the conversation with 9 to 5 friends is like, dude, did you see that new Netflix series? It's like, I don't watch fucking Netflix, dick. Like when you're hanging out with your entrepreneurial friends, it's like legitimately, like we'll go out to eat and it's like, I'm testing out this funnel. Here's what's working. Here's what's not working. So when you think about the time you have in the day, when you're filling it with crap, like, did you see that new Netflix series? This actor's so stupid. This film was so good. You're filling your brain with crap when you're doing all that stuff. Whereas when you're trying to build a business, you need to get around people that are doing it because that's all they're going to talk about. And then I've learned a lot from Chris. Chris probably hasn't learned too much from me, but
Nothing.
But when you're constantly just talking about these things and sharing these things, and it's fun and you're passionate about it, that's what you're filling your time with. That's what you're filling your brain with. It really goes a long way. And then when you build those relationships and you struggle together, you go on this kind of like journey together with all these other people. They're all at like either the same spot as you, or maybe they're a little further, maybe they're a little bit behind. There's a lot that you can relate to. And then when things happen, I mean, Chris, you've reached out to me a couple of times. I reach out to you all the time. Whenever I have questions. So it's helpful to have that network of people that kind of support you when you just don't know what to do. And instead of doing it, screwing up massively, you can maybe screw up a little bit by getting someone else's advice that's already been through it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd be the first person to say that I would not be where I am today without the group that I've been a part of, like our tribe or whatever you want to refer to it as. And I would say anybody in our group would agree with that because it's along with the point that you're making that you learn it a lot faster because you're talking about it and everyone's interested in it. It's kind of the concept that the tide raises all ships, that when one person or two people figure out something that works in your group, especially if you're in the same type of business, then everyone adopts that. And then it furthers everyone's success. And then someone else in the group figures something else out. And then you add that on. And constantly as a group, you're iterating on the process just 7, 8, 9 times faster than you could ever possibly hope to do on your own. Like when I first started my business, I was by myself in a 2-bedroom apartment, just like grinding it out, trying to make things work. And I was getting some success, but it was nothing that I saw compared to when I moved in with a group and had that network. It was just a rocket ship after that.
100%. Now, by the way, if you're watching right now, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that share button. First time I did it, I remember to do it. If you're watching the stream right now, hit that share button. I'd really appreciate it. Okay, so Chris, I want to talk about your journey. So based off the viewership, I know there's a lot of people that are in their working full time. They want to quit. They want to do all that. Let's start with like Amazon, because you worked at Amazon. You're working in a fulfillment center. How did you go about saying, I'm going to take the full leap of faith? Did you start working on your business first, or did you just like pull the string? I'm done. Now I have to figure it out. Like, talk a little bit about how that all went.
Yeah, so I was working. I mean, I graduated from college in 2016, and I started my business, like my research process of starting the business. Didn't really get any kind of traction for the first year. Didn't make a single dollar for, probably about the first year and a half. Then I took the job at Amazon, essentially just to pay the bills, full well knowing that going into it, I did not want to be there any longer than 6 months to a year. And about 3 months into it, the business was doing well enough. And I was just realizing that I was working 12-hour days at Amazon, 4 or 5 days a week on night shift. So I was waking up at like 3,
Brutal.
4 in the afternoon, going to work until like 8, 9 in the morning. Or getting back from work at like 8, 9 in the morning, and then working for a couple hours and just doing it all over again. And the thing that made me finally decide to take the leap was I realized that the time I was putting into my business which was only a few hours a day, because that's all I had, was yielding such a higher return than the time I was putting into Amazon. And at the end of the day, I realized like just basic math, like it didn't make sense to be putting more time into the thing that's yielding a lower return. But then it was weighing that against, the risk and the fear of taking that leap. And I decided, like, if this is the path I want to go, like I got to give myself the shot. And so I quit. And um, it wasn't always easy. There were times afterwards where I was questioning, like, should I go back and get a job? But at the end of the day, I'm really glad that I did it. Um, and yeah, I mean, the thing that I would recommend to anybody who's thinking about starting it is that it is just starting a company, is that it is very possible to keep some kind of stable, sustainable income, whether it's from a 9 to 5 or part-time job or whatever, and start your business at the same time.
Are
It's
you
it,
saying if you go back, you potentially like work a little bit more before jumping ship, or what do you like? What would you recommend?
No, I think in my specific scenario, I think that I left at the right time. I was fortunate and probably lucky that it maintained the traction that I had. But my main point is that don't think that there's kind of this paradigm or thought process that, like, in order to be an entrepreneur, you have to like take the full leap of faith, like cut all tides, like you have to have your back up against the wall, that type of thing.
You have
And
to
I
go
don't
homeless.
Yeah, yeah, you have to go homeless. You have to like jump off the cliff and then learn to fly on your way down, type of thing. Uh, I'm more a proponent of, you can maintain some level of, not going completely homeless, maintaining some kind of job, and then the 4 to 5 hours you have after your job, that's when you put into your business. And you can kind of have the best of both worlds that way.
100%. So you took the leap of faith. I think you didn't start with like building an Amazon store, right? You started taking on like Amazon FBA clients, or is that wrong?
Yeah, so I started out because I had like no money to invest into like inventory or anything like that. I started out, I learned how to do Facebook ads, and then I tried to niche it down into specific set of clients, and that just so happened to be Amazon FBA. I had paid to join a mastermind, where it was all Amazon sellers that, Amazon sellers, kind of a side point, they have a ton of cash flow normally, but not a lot of like Facebook or Shopify know-how. So I niched into helping Amazon businesses with Facebook ads specifically, and got fortunate that, because I was in the mastermind, I was able to land, well over 20 clients pretty quickly, which then allowed me to quit my job. And then fast forward about a year and a half later, I wasn't finding a ton of fulfillment in helping other people build their businesses. I was kind of getting burnt out on like essentially having 20 different bosses, it felt like at times. And at that point, I had enough money to invest in starting my own e-commerce businesses. And then I kind of took everything that I learned from running the agency and the capital that I built up, and invested into starting my own.
Okay, that's really great. So for anyone that's watching, how much would you, someone that's new, not like if you go do this, or someone in the network of your ecom buddies, someone that's watching, never done ecom before, how much would you recommend someone goes into a new ecom business with in terms of capitalization? How much money should they have?
Yeah, well, it depends on the business, and I'll give a definitive answer. But if you're going the Amazon route, which is how I recommend anybody who has zero ecom experience, Amazon is by far the way to go. Reason being that it is the most sustainable and dependable source of revenue, and it's the lowest risk, might not be the right word, but it's a lot less risk than the Shopify Facebook ads route, which those are like pretty much the two routes that I see the most, at least. Shopify and Facebook, it's much higher risk, higher reward, and Amazon is lower risk, lower reward, but you can still build a 7-figure income, quit your job within 12 to 18 months of starting an Amazon business. So in my mind, that's because most people's goal is to
How
be
much money?
quitting their job.
Let's talk about Amazon. How much money would you say you need to, again, very general? How much money do you think someone should have starting an Amazon business specifically?
Between 5 to 10 grand at
Okay,
least. It used to be a lot less. It used to be like when I was starting, I was going through programs and stuff that were saying that you would need like 2 to 3 grand, like 3 to 4. Now I would say like 5 is the absolute minimum, and that would even be like a very slow gradual incline, because the biggest thing that your cost is tied to is how much initial inventory, and this is on Amazon, how much initial inventory you're going to be starting off with. And if you start off with, 100 units at $5 a piece, yeah, it's only $500 or some other fees, but like, you sell through those 100 units. How much is that really in sales? Probably about like 2 to 3 times that. So it's going to be a much slower, initial ramp up, but it's still possible to start off with, a lower capital investment.
Now, the next question, and we have to go into like Facebook Shopify route. I'm assuming I know what you're going to say in terms of like why that's harder. But the Facebook Shopify route, why is that harder? And how much would you bring to the table capitalization wise if you're going that route?
Yeah. So to answer the first question, the reason that it's so much harder is that there are a lot more variables that go into getting your ads to convert. A lot of people like to focus on just how do I run my Facebook ads? Like that's the one piece. There's so much else that goes into it. It's finding the right product. It's your site optimization. It's your email sequence optimization. It's your building up your social followings, like just a million different things. And then you have the ads on top of all of that. And when we launch and test stores, we used to like sink a ton of money into it. Now we've gotten better at like, testing with like a couple grand. We can talk about that later if you want as well. But you can essentially sink at least a couple grand in ad spend when you're first starting off with very little results and not sure what the reason is that it's not working. Whereas on Amazon, it's like either the product works or it doesn't. There's a little bit more that goes into it that you can optimize, but it's a lot more just one isolated variable. Whereas Facebook, it could be a million different things.
Yeah, exactly. And like you have to learn Facebook ads, you have to learn how to build a store, you have to learn how to create email funnels, you have to optimize the site. We just did it. It's a lot of work. Okay, so how, and I know this is kind of a loaded question. I think I might know how you're gonna respond, but how much would you come into like capitalizing one of those types of businesses?
Yeah, it is a tough question because it also
It's
depends
tough
on what
because of drop shipping too. Like you could get started with drop shipping, right?
Yeah, well, drop shipping is kind of getting phased out because of some things that Facebook is doing. You can't really drop ship from China or anything like that anymore. Still possible, but it's getting a lot harder. But what I will say is that when you're approaching either one of these business models, it depends on what your goals are. Like if your goal with Amazon is like, I absolutely need to replace my income within 6 months, then all right, you need a lot more money to start up front with. Same thing with Facebook. If your goals are like, I just want to learn the platform and like maybe bring in like a grand or two each month, not passively, like on the side, then that's a different amount that you need than if you're saying I'm going to quit my job in 6 months. If you go in, and I'll give answers for both, if you're saying I just want to learn a little bit here and there and maybe make like a grand or two each month, I would say on Facebook, like at least 5 to 10 grand, because there's the learning curve where you're going to sink a lot of money into ads. And that's not to say like 5 to 10 grand, you're guaranteed to start making profit after that. You could lose all of that. Just be aware of that. But if your goal is to like really ramp things up, quit your job, be able to bring in enough income to sustain yourself and your family, or whoever, on Facebook, I would say at least 15 to 20 grand now, because you need to, one, quickly find a winning product, two, invest inventory into that product, because you can't just really drop ship because Facebook's added page scores. And then three, you need enough ad spend or enough budget for ad spend, all your site optimization and all that stuff. So it adds up quick. But if you're fine, just like learning and kind of coasting might be the wrong word, but slowly like getting your feet wet, then that you could be done with like 5 to 10 grand set aside for it. But
yeah, from my experience with the coffee business, if I were to do it like not undercover now and like build something like that, I probably wouldn't do anything less than 25,000. Because the other thing I'd tack in there is payroll. Like it's so much work. Like I can't personally, I'm not good at / I don't want to handle a lot of the things on the creative side that goes into like building one of those stores. So like it's so much, it's interesting because getting it off the ground is significantly harder in my opinion, and also has a lot of times lower margin from what I experienced. We were selling coffee, so you got to take that into account, but has lower margin than like an agency, where agencies cash flow, which is what you kind of did to start. It cash flows, which is like super low risk, low reward, because you can make $300,000 and be super happy and then go and start an ecom business. But when it comes to exit multiples, ecom businesses always, for the most part, have better multiples. So it's like when I describe things, I always say low risk, low rewards like an agency, medium risk, medium reward is ecom, and then like tech companies, more high risk, high reward, because you just burn, and then try to exit for the most part. A lot of companies do that. But so that's super cool. What I want to talk about more is like what you're currently doing now. So like, how many ecom businesses are you running like right now? Are you running a couple? Are you just focusing on one or two? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, so it's all with my partner, who we're 50-50 on everything. And so we have 3 different brands that we're working on right now. And we started out like, we probably tested, I want to say like at least 15 different stores before we honed in on the ones that we have now that actually work. And the reason for that is that, we could have an idea, or like an idea of a space or a niche or a product that we think is going to crush it. And we've learned by now that like we don't know shit.
And by the way, how much would you say you've spent in Facebook ads over the last couple of years?
Last like 12, 18 months, like 2 million plus.
Okay. So for everyone that's watching, someone that's in the last 12, 18 months, over $2 million ad spend is saying, we still don't know shit until we actually test. When you go and you have a really great idea, you don't know until you test. You don't, Chris, I'm assuming you don't know what offer is going to perform best. You don't know what copy is going to perform best. You don't know what audiences might even perform best. Is there anything else on that list?
Yeah, the biggest thing ties back to the product and the space or the niche, which when I say niche, I just mean like a passionate group of people. They could be passionate, but not passionate about your product. So, and what we've learned is like, you can have products that you think are great, or like a collection that we think is going to crush it. And then we put up the ads. And now, like I said before, we were spending a lot to test it. We've honed it in on like, we just put up a shell Shopify store, debut theme, which is like the default super simple theme. And then we put up like 15 to 20 products in the collection. And then we just turn on the ads. And now we've actually.
How are you getting those products, by the way? For anyone that's watching and wants to do something similar, it sounds like you're doing low effort to like go and test, right? Like you just want to get it up, test the actual products. Like, how are you getting these products on the store?
Yeah, so it's just we have designers that we work with that, and not to make it sound like we have some in-house, like, super resource that makes this unattainable. Like you could find these people on Upwork and like 15, 20 bucks an hour. And I just come up with like the designs, or like give them the idea. And it could be like, a jewelry, apparel, like a new, like home goods item, like anything that could sell well in e-commerce, which is normally stuff that's like smaller than a shoebox. It's just a rule of thumb, mainly for shipping. We come up with the designs and stuff, and they put together, pictures that they can make very easily in Photoshop. That's beyond my skill level. That's why we hire the designers, and then we just throw it up on Shopify.
And then do you like do print on demand?
It depends. If it's apparel, yeah. A lot we've gotten away from doing print on demand because the margins are so low. So what we do is, if it's something that we're sourcing from overseas or somewhere in the U.S., we'll just put up the products and sell it, and we'll spend about $1,000 on ads, and we'll act like in the ads and everything as if it's a product that's going to be fulfilled, like it's a completely normal store. And then after we spend about $1,000, we look at the metrics, mainly like the cost per click, were people actually clicking, were they interested in it, what was the conversion rate on the site, what was the average order value, and then most importantly, what was the ROAS. And if we see a positive ROAS, which is normally like around a 1.8 plus on a test, that's a great sign. But if we don't see that, which is what happens more often than not, then we're looking at, all right, what was the cost per click? Were people, just not interested at all? Was the conversion rate super low? Because then that could be like we tweak the price and stuff, like, yeah, then it turns itself around, and look at the other metrics. And from that, we're able to paint a picture of like, is this a good opportunity or is it a waste of time? And if we decide it's a waste of time, then we just refund everybody, which, normally adds up to like maybe a grand, $1,500. But and then if it does look like a good opportunity, we still email everybody and say, hey, just so you know, this is going to be about, X number of days until you get it. If you're not cool with that, essentially, like, you click here to get a refund. If you are cool, like, here's a 20% discount to your next order. So we
Chris,
still take care of the customers, but we,
Chris,
get the data a lot
are
easier.
a lot of these products like stuff you could just like use something like Printify for like the initial orders and do drop shipping initially, so they don't have to wait, and then like once you prove it, then you can go and like order everything from China or wherever you're getting it, or is it typically not that type of situation, or is there like a reason you don't do that?
Yeah, I mean, we have done Printify in the past. It's just uh, they do have a pretty limited selection. Like if you're doing t-shirts, great, use Printify, but their cost of goods normally runs at around like 50%, if not like 52 to 53% cost of goods of overall revenue, which is pretty tough, um, margin wise, because the cost of goods is normally where you get most of your margin back. Um, but you can definitely do that if it fits into that, you know,
I
product
see.
category or something they offer.
I see. I see. So then you're throwing it up, looking for that hopefully 1.8 ROAS or higher. Is there like a, let's say it's 1.9? Well, is that like enough for you to be like, yep, this is a winner, or is it like, okay, it's not high enough, like it's where we want it, but it's not high enough. It's not like a 3. Well, like what would you do if it's a 1.9?
If it's 1.9, the first thing that we look at is why was it a 1.9? And if the cost per click is super cheap, that's the thing that we get really excited about. And just to give everyone an idea of the setup, where if anyone's running Facebook ads, we use purchase optimize even for the test because we can get super cheap traffic through a traffic campaign that's pretty much useless. So we do purchase optimize to a collection page, and the collection page normally has the products that are priced anywhere from like 15 to 30 some dollars is the general structure we go with. But to answer your question, if the cost per click is super low, then that's a good sign to us. But if cost per click is pretty high and like click through rates are low, then we look at like, all right, well, could we really improve upon this? Like, do we have much better creative that we could try out? Or do we have much better audiences? And if we think like in this test, we're already pretty much towards the brink of the best we could do, then we're like, all right, probably not the best use of our time. But if we're like, all right, these are just pictures on white backgrounds, like we can do a lot better than this,
I
then we're
see.
like, great, let's go into it.
I see. Um, I'm curious, going from like 0 to $1 million versus going from like a million to like $5 million. What would you say was harder with ecom?
I would say 5 to 10 million is a lot harder.
Yeah.
The third option, which is and that's annual. I mean, that's what we're trying to, that's what we're working through right now. Mostly because that gets into like you need good teams and systems in place in order to run sustainably. But I would definitely say the first million is the hardest because that's when you're cash strapped. You're just like you're watching your ads like a hawk. You need every ad dollar to be like a positive return. Whereas once you get beyond that, you've got a couple $100,000 that you can play with and um, throw that at like testing new products and stuff. It just gives you a lot more leeway. So I'd say the 1 to 5 was definitely a lot easier than the first million.
Yeah. I would definitely agree. Now, just a heads up for anyone that's watching, feel free to drop your comments and we'll get to them shortly and bring them up to Chris if you have any comments about e-com or Facebook ads or business in general. Have you done anything, I guess agency, you started an agency. Have you done anything like entrepreneurial, like totally out of e-com?
Um, not not since I graduated, at least. I mean, my thing has always been that like I did consulting in the agency, but I want to get really good and really focused at one area. Like I could do like consulting and stuff on the side, and I don't know, maybe come up with like a Shopify app that would be useful to me, then probably be useful to other people. But I've tried to dial it in and get really good in one area and learn everything that I possibly can. Maybe in the future, once I'm, I don't know, burned out on ecom, then I'll try something different. But right now, I love it. It's a great place to be. It's fun every single day. There's tons of new opportunities, especially with COVID. E-commerce penetration just
Oh
blew through
man,
the roof.
yeah, it's
There's huge
crazy.
opportunity in it.
You,
So I'm
you know
very
what?
bullish on it.
You know what's crazy? It's like everything is new opportunity. It's not just like start a Shopify store. It's like you could go and start delivering Amazon packages. I know someone doing this. Like this person's making crazy money just fucking delivering Amazon packages. Like literally getting a truck and delivering Amazon packages. Like it is insane because like now the percentage of people ordering online, which people were ordering online before, but it exploded because of COVID. It just opened up every single opportunity. Like if you own a fulfillment house, you're probably doing a lot better. If you want to just get in a truck and start delivering packages, you could do that now and probably make a lot more money. If you hit a niche that it hasn't been hit very well, you could probably start selling pretty quick. It's pretty interesting. Actually, in the coffee world, doing direct to consumer coffee, which is what we were doing, a lot of opportunity there. Like you could totally crush that. Margins are pretty low though in coffee. I'm really not a huge fan. There's people doing really well though in it. There's a couple brands. The problem that I have is you need to be doing so much volume with coffee, or you need to, in my opinion, kind of screw people over with pricing. Like you have to charge way too much than people should be paying for coffee, which there are companies that are doing it and they're doing it really well. Their branding's incredible, but like they're charging like $22 for a bag of 12-ounce coffee that you get for like $5 at the store. So that's all super interesting to me. But yeah, so right now, another question, Facebook ads wise, have you seen a big, now this gets a little technical, guys. I'm going to let you all know it's a little technical here, but there's been a little bit of changes to Facebook ads because of the iOS update. Pretty much iOS has like, you could probably explain this better than me, Chris, but pretty much like people aren't tracking. It's harder to track now with your ads because iOS made some privacy changes. Have you guys seen like a big difference in how your ads perform since the iOS update?
Yeah, it's a little bit more inconsistent, but by and large, it's more or less the same. And the thing is that there's software out there that um, allows you to
That's
essentially track exactly the same.
that's actually what I wanted to ask. What is that software
The
that
one
you
that
use?
I'm using right now is called Hyros.
I knew you were going to say
Um,
that. I got hit with their
yeah,
ad. It's okay. So, by the way, guys, I think you have to like apply to like apply. I don't know if you have to be doing a
that's
certain
just
amount of
that's
revenue.
just a sales tactic.
It's a
Yeah, you
sales
could just
bullshit tactic. Yeah.
yeah.
So I've even gotten hit with that ad. Um, what exactly are they doing to like fix that issue? Like, does the software actually make a difference?
Yeah, and just to give everyone like a basic overview is that like the issue that we're having right now, Facebook ads is completely based upon its ability to optimize from the data that it's getting from the pixel. And the pixel is just like a little thing that you put on your site, and then it tells Facebook what's happening on the site. So it tells you like what traffic's converting, how often they're converting, who are your most valuable customers, all that stuff. And it takes that data and improves the traffic that it's sending over time. If it can't do that, then it's essentially just flying blind, just sending whoever it feels like, and it's going to end poorly. So far, it hasn't gotten quite to that point, but it could. And Hyros, like we're talking about, what they do instead is they have essentially like a backdoor to the Pixel that Apple's iOS 14 point whatever came in doomsday update, and it's essentially saying like, nope, no more. You can't send the amount of Pixel events that you have been sending. It's like Apple's, attempt at privacy protection for their customers, but it is still working. I would say like 60, 70% as effective as it was. But now Hyros has essentially like a backdoor. Essentially, it's pretty technical that once you set it up, it essentially is able to still send as much data, if not even more accurate than your pixel was before.
Wow.
Um,
Were
and
you
it,
were you using Hyros before, or did you just start using it once the update happened?
yeah, I was actually using it before, and the
Okay.
reason that I was using it is that the pixel is only at its best like 70-80% effective, which sounds pretty good, but there's 20% of purchases or conversions that just aren't being tracked. That's the difference in, me bumping or cutting potentially a couple hundred ad sets. And that's to dive into the Facebook ads a little bit deeper. We launched with like a couple hundred ad sets. And then based on the data that Facebook is giving us, we're then either increasing the budgets, decreasing it, or cutting it completely. Now, if that data is imperfect, I could, as the ads manager, essentially be increasing the wrong budgets or decreasing, the wrong ones. So Hyros just makes that process a little bit more efficient. And now they're like Alex Becker has completely blown up Hyros over the past like 6-12
I
months.
know.
It's
He's
insane.
killing it. He has to
Yeah,
be totally killing
because
it.
the Apple update was like a blessing for him. It's
I
just
know.
everyone needs this product now.
I know. It's crazy. But okay, so what's super interesting, okay, so a lot of people that are watching, I bet you the majority of people, if not all, are not Facebook ad experts. They haven't spent probably even $1 million or so in Facebook ads. How would you get started like as a beginner with ecom? Like if you're like, I want to get started with ecom, I want to build an ecom store or an Amazon, forget Amazon for now. Cause I know your recommendation is going to be like, go with Amazon, which I would also recommend because there's so much more work starting in like building a Shopify store. But if they are going to start, how would you get started?
I'll get started with the product first of all. After going through and learning is like a prerequisite to all of this. Obviously, the first thing you should do is learn the lay of the land. Go through some good courses. Don't buy like the guru courses. Like one really good one on Facebook ads that I've gone through is called the BPM method, um, by a guy named Deepesh. That's really good. I've probably gone through about 10 of them. But first thing would be prerequisite is learning. Second thing is focus on the product. And what I would say about that is that you can sell a really great product with shitty ads, but you can't sell a shitty product with great ads. Um, so point being that you need to really hone in on the product and figure out what is it that one is selling well, what types of products, and then two, who can I sell it to? And then three, like what kind of format would probably lend itself the best to it? Like, is it a single product funnel? Is it a collection? But focusing on the product and the brand first is the biggest thing, and then the ads is almost like an afterthought,
So
which a lot of people flip those.
is that kind of good news for the people that like me that don't know how to run Facebook ads? Like if you do pick a good product, you could kind of pick up Facebook ads eventually. How long do you think it's going to take? Like, okay, pretend I have a good product and I'm about to launch my first ecom store. Good product. I go through some of these courses. I learn a little bit about Facebook ads, but I still don't know nearly as much as someone like you. Would you go the route of hiring someone, or would you do it yourself? And if you are going to do it yourself, like how would you go about doing that? How much time would you spend in Facebook ads?
Yeah, firstly on the hiring thing, if you have the time and the urge to learn it yourself, I would say definitely learn it yourself. It is a huge skill set. It's been by far, I mean, I have a college degree, like I've worked at multiple companies. Facebook ads is by far the best skill set that I've been able to build up. And I say that as, that's the one that when I meet people, that's what they're most interested in hearing from me. They don't care about, anything else that I might know or whatever. They care about learning Facebook ads and digital marketing as a greater point. So if you can build that skill set for yourself, highly recommend it. Aside from your business, it's going to take you far. But secondly, I would say for the learning curve, going through one of those courses, the first thing that takes a while is just picking like the right person to learn from, because there's so many just BS guys out there that are just going to waste your time. I've probably gone through at least 10 courses, like 8 of them were crappy. BPM method is by far the best, and that I've gone through at least. So not having to pick one, that'll save you some time. Going through the course, I want to say it's about 40 hours of content. So you could go through it in about a week. And honestly, if you just go through and implement it as he talks about it in the course, you could have your account set up within 2 weeks. Now, the thing that'll take a little bit longer is getting familiar and comfortable with spending your own money in the account. A couple $100, $1,000, couple grand a day, and that's the part that'll take the longest. But if you go through this course, and I didn't really mean for this to turn into just promoting that course. I'm not an affiliate or anything. It's just something that taught me a lot.
I went to the site and your face is all over it. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I'll take my 40%.
I'm on the site now. I'm just making. I'm going to drop it for all you guys that are interested in the chat here. I think this is it. Looks like it. The BPM method, or sorry, bpmmethod.com. I think this is it. It looks like it. So let me just paste it for everyone. Sorry, I cut you off there.
No, you're good.
Just dropped it for everyone that's interested.
So yeah, I mean, all I was going to say is go through that course. That'll speed up the process a lot. What I will say is, like, to get to the point that I'm at now, like, I've been running Facebook ads for 2 to 3 years consistently with my own money, which is a big difference than running the agency. But it's now going through that course, and if you have your product and stuff, it can be 2 to 3 months before you're pretty proficient at it if you're doing it consistently.
I feel like it's been longer than that, because when we were living together, that was probably like 2016 or 7. That was like 2017 at the latest.
Yeah, maybe 4 years. I don't know. Time's flying.
It's
I graduated 2016, which is
that's when I graduated.
5 years now, 6 years. Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, I would say 2 to 3 years of me spending high volume, at least. I'll say that, because I was running Facebook ads, but I wasn't spending, like, now we're spending on average, like, on the low end, 5 to 10 grand a day, which isn't what I was doing before, for sure.
That's crazy. So, you spend 5 to 10 grand. What's like your goal? Is it like, where do you see you guys getting to run rate wise? Like, next 12 months, where do you guys want to be, or where are you expecting to be? Like, what are you kind of projecting out? Are you planning on increasing that from 5 to 10 grand a day? Like, what are your plans? How do you scale this biz?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's something we're focusing a lot on right now, is that we've realized it's not just, like, we got to where we are with Facebook ads, essentially, like, plain and simple. But in order to essentially double it, we've doubled the company the last 2 years, at about 8 million a year. That as of last year, 4 million the year before that. We're not going to be able to get there by just continue to run more Facebook ads, and that's why I said the 5 to 10 million is a lot harder than the 1 to 5. Is that it takes diversifying your revenue. It takes having systems and teams in place that essentially allows you to multiply yourself, because there's only so many people on Facebook and Instagram that you can hit, which sounds kind of crazy, but, like, we do see some of our ads starting to get saturation. We see our frequencies getting too high because we've essentially hit everyone in the country. So the solution to that is diversifying to other platforms, doing more on Amazon, Etsy, Pinterest, Snapchat, TikTok, stuff like that, to diversify the revenue. And then in order to do that, in order to sell on that many platforms, you need to have a solid team in place, which right now our team's great, but it's all mostly VAs working on, customer service and supply chain type stuff. And my partner and I do everything. So hiring more people and building out the team is going to be key.
So the goal is not necessarily like, let's open more stores. It's like, we need to get on Amazon. So what do? Do you hire someone that's like the director of Amazon that's been doing Amazon for 5 years? Like, what's the game plan?
Yeah. And that's whenever it comes to, like, expanding into, I've talked a lot about this in different ecom groups that I'm in. Whenever it comes to expanding into a new sector, we'll call it, in your business, there's really 3 different options. One, you could learn it yourself, which has its pitfalls. Like, you normally don't have enough time. 2, you could hire an agency, which they cost a lot of money, and haven't always gotten us the best results. And 3, you could hire somebody to do it, and in-house. And the solution that we've tested in the past is myself trying to learn it and hire somebody to not necessarily run that new area, but to run something that I'm already doing, because that frees up my time to learn something new. But it also, I know how to manage that person really effectively at what they're already doing. So like if I would have 10
That's
times
interesting.
easier of a time hiring someone to do our Facebook ads because I know everything about that, or a decent amount about it. But I don't know like next to anything anymore about Amazon. Like there's a lot that I need to relearn.
That's
So if somebody gets hired, I wouldn't know how to manage them.
That's actually a really interesting approach. That's super interesting. And I actually like it because I would personally do the opposite. I would personally try to hire a very senior level hire that could teach me a lot of the things because there's a senior level hire. But what you're saying is hire for what you're. I actually love this. You've never shared this one with me, Chris. You're saying hire someone that for a role that you already know really well, so you know you made a good hire. Because if you hire someone that's really senior and you make a bad hire, you might not know. So then my assumption would be to like speed that up to pay for like in your case, let's just say like you suck at Amazon. Let's just say that's the case. You're really good at Facebook. So you can make a good hire for Facebook. You can already have systems in place. You bring the right person in. Then I would assume for Amazon, instead of just like jumping in and learning it, maybe even you pay for mentorship. So like it kind of speeds up your learning curve. And then after a certain period of time, you either really like Amazon or you hate it. And then but now you know it. And then you can bring someone else in to be like that director level higher. And then it will have a higher probability of success, I guess.
Yeah, because I trust myself, and I'm sure every entrepreneur is the same way. I trust myself a lot more building out a new area of the business than some hire. They could be, apparently the best guy off the street, but I'm still gonna prefer to be the one doing it. And then there's the added benefit of like, we're both young, like and anyone like building a new skill set is a great thing to have. Makes you that much more dangerous in like, further down the road or in your next business. Um, and so that's what we're trying out now, looking to hire somebody. But like kind of a prerequisite to all of that, to doing that process at all, is having the systems and processes in place of like your daily SOPs, standard operating procedures, so that every other area of the business, customer service, supply chain, product ordering, all that stuff can run autonomously with, without your any kind of intervention, so that you can fully focus on the new area.
Yeah,
So that's what we're working on now.
I love this. I actually have never thought about it this way. Because like personally, before this conversation, I probably would always like that's like I've gotten both lucky and unlucky, I guess, with hires for roles that I'm not an expert in. And I've had both situations where I hired someone amazing and I've had situations where I've hired someone terrible. This is like really interesting because like here's the question though. Like here's my biggest problem with this. Being totally honest, do you think you're going to be able to find someone that is effective enough or even better than you at Facebook ads? Like, do you realistically think you'll be able to find someone like that?
Yeah. And if not, I can train them, because like the stuff that I know is not, it's not like it's so proprietary or groundbreaking that
It's
like
not that it's
someone.
proprietary, but based off what I know about what you've shown me and just living with you and hanging out with you, there's a lot more than just Facebook ads. Like like you understand marketing and the customer really well, and like a lot of the things that aren't transparent on the front end, like, oh, just learn Facebook ads. Like that's nice. Like you can go learn Facebook ads, but you really need to understand marketing very well. There's a lot more to it that makes you good at what you do that someone that just does Facebook ads doesn't actually potentially know, whereas an A player will. So do you think you going that deep into it, do you think you'll be able to find an A player for when you guys do go make that hire?
Yeah, I think the person that we're looking for that would be able to take it over is like completely forgetting about their Facebook knowledge or current knowledge of digital marketing. We can teach people that. It needs to be somebody who's hungry and has an appetite for sales and growth. Like if you picture somebody who'd be really good at door-to-door sales, that's the kind of person that you want in your ads manager. If you have somebody who's like super analytical and good with numbers, that's nice. But if they are not like hungry about scaling up and like we spent $1,000 today, I want to make sure we spend at least 2 grand tomorrow at the same ad spend, and they're not like getting off to that, they're not going to be a good fit. So
Are
if you
you?
can find, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just going to say, if you can find the person who's hungry, has an appetite for learning, and really wants to grow and scale, which normally you can mix in some kind of like bonus compensation for them in order to like really, juice that up for them. But if you can find something like that, I can train them to, be as good as I am, if not better.
How quickly?
That depends on if
We have a
if I'm
lot of hungry people on this channel, Chris. You're
if
gonna
I'm
start
sitting
getting
down with
DMs.
if I'm sitting down with them and like training them, uh, my goal is to have all the like record videos and like training materials for just internal hires. That within a month, probably it would be quick because I would be able to just cut to the chase and say, ignore all this shit, just focus on this is the stuff that really matters. Um, it'd be pretty quick.
I might know someone that I can talk to you about off camera. Are you looking to hire right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the next step for you guys. You're literally like actively recruiting.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
the systems, and we have a project manager that we're working with to kind of flush out some of the internal systems and get all that in place. But we're doing the hiring in tandem with that.
That's exciting. So where are you recruiting right now?
Right now, I'm just reaching out to other like my internal network for like recommendations.
That's the best
EO
way to.
has been a good one.
That's the best place to start. I mean, EO is great too. Like that's
Yeah.
network for anyone that doesn't know. Have you read Who by GF Smart?
No, we actually have I'm in an ecom EO forum, and the next meeting that we're having, we're going over like a deep dive on hiring, who, all of that methodology.
Okay, that's cool. Well, again, I might have some people I could recommend. For anyone that's watching, it's always good to like ask your network, like Chris is starting with. That's gonna be the highest probability of success usually if you can get a recommendation. The other thing I would do, Chris, even though it's a little bit more grunt work, is like I've had good success with Indeed actually. If you put the job on Indeed, you I don't know if you want to do it or you put someone on the team on it, but you have to dig through dirt on Indeed to find the diamond. And then also just like actually using LinkedIn Recruiter is pretty effective. Like just sniping someone from their job. That's one of the most effective ways because usually like when someone's already at a job, you can convince them with the right opportunity. So it's a good way to do it. Um, someone commented and said that really trying to get the the last drop of water out of the cup. I have a big problem where I try not to drink water on the live stream, so I didn't fill this up, but I'm pretty thirsty here. So got to wrap up soon, Chris.
All right.
But that's exciting, man. So how many hires are you making? Is it just really that one hire right now, or is there anything else you're hiring for?
No, we're looking to do probably 2 right now. Like I said, we already have the customer service team in place, and then we also have some people managing supply chain. So we're looking for someone to take over some of the Facebook and digital marketing side of things, and then somebody to either manage the existing supply chain or start to manage some of these new channels that we're looking at that are pretty easy to manage. It just takes time. It's not like a big learning curve. Like Etsy, for example, for anybody who's watching this who has an existing Shopify store that's getting consistent sales and you're just looking for a way to scale it up, highly recommend just plugging in the Etsy app. It is, from the time you set it up to the time you have ads running, it's probably about 5 clicks. It's the easiest ad setup I've ever seen, and it's
Wait,
completely automated.
are you running ads within Etsy, or are you running ads to the Etsy store from Facebook?
No, it's it's on Etsy's platform. They
Yeah,
run the ads for you.
so we had a lot of issues with that because we put the max we could put our budget was like $125 a day, and
Yeah,
then it didn't even show it. Like it was spending like $10, and it was all converting really well. And we're like, fuck, spend more, Etsy.
yeah, you can't. That's the thing. It's just like a nice auxiliary traffic source. It's not really gonna, you're not gonna be able to scale it up to multiple thousands. And the reason that you were capped at that is that it's based on the number of SKUs. You have to talk to an Etsy rep for them to tell you this, but it's
God
based
damn
on
it.
the number of SKUs that you have on Etsy.
Okay, so if I added more SKUs, I could have upped the budget.
Yeah, it automatically will for you, but
Okay, it
it
still didn't
still
spend
won't
more.
even spend it.
Yeah, either way, we had a $125 max, which we maxed it out, and it was spending like nothing. It was spending like literally a couple days. It was just like usually under $10. We're like, fuck, spend more. Come on.
Yeah,
Because it was converting so well. Like the ROAS on Etsy compared to like a Facebook ad we were getting like a 6 or 7 ROAS. It's pretty
yeah,
great.
yeah. And the other good channel to look at, Etsy's good for like 50, $100 a day spend tops. Snapchat, that one's been consistently spending between like 250 to 500 a day for us. Still trying to figure out how to scale it up more, but that's been consistently between a 2 to 3x, and uh, the platform is very similar to Facebook and Instagram.
How's the ROAS looking on Snap for you guys?
It's like a 2 to 3x
Okay.
around there. I think in the last week we've spent 2.5 grand at like a 2.6, 2.7, something in that
Have you
range.
messed
So
around with TikTok yet?
yeah, a little bit, not a ton. Slowly building out one platform at a time. So
Yeah, their ad platform is definitely like super new. Obviously, there's not a ton of functionality to it, in terms of like targeting. But when I was doing the project, there was I'd reach out to a bunch of people. One of the people that I'd reach out to was a TikTok ad expert. They had a lot of clients they were running TikTok ads for, and he said that they were getting pretty high ROAS on TikTok for everyone they were working with. It was like around 3 to 4. They're doing really well. I can make an intro to him if you want.
yeah, yeah, that'd be great. And just to give like an overview, like the order of operations that I would say of our total like advertising spend, which I don't even know what we spend on a given month. I'd have to add it up, but we do Facebook and Instagram is by far number one. And for anyone who doesn't know, that's the same platform, essentially like running the same ads. Number two is Google ads for retargeting. Those are typically between like $50 to $100 a day, but the return is really high because it's essentially just paid SEO, and highs in like 8 to 10x returns plus. Third is Etsy, but that's going to be like much lower spend, like I said, 50 to $100. It's be like 4 to 5x return. Then I do Snapchat, which that's normally in like 2 to 3x range. And this is just using essentially the same creative across all of them. And then I'm looking at Pinterest next, but that's a completely different platform. That's going to take some time to get up and running. It's not similar to Facebook at all. And then 6 is TikTok, which I'm going to be looking at next. But yeah, I mean, all in all, we're like 5-10 grand spending, probably close to 300 some grand plus a month. And obviously it depends on the month. That's the thing with Facebook and Instagram. It's not like it's like, all right, I'm budgeting $500,000 each month for advertising. It's very contingent on the performance of them. It's like this. It's spikes and troughs. Like
So you really have to watch it then.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we monitor it, and I use Facebook rules to monitor everything. And then I also use a new software called Companion Labs, which does all of our budget increases and stuff like that. But like some months we could spend $1 million, then the next month we spend 100 grand. It's all dependent on what the CPMs are.
Have you ever had unprofitable ads scale and then you're like, oh shit, I didn't have rules set?
Yeah, there was one day we were gonna do. This was a good day. We were gonna do over 100 grand in sales, and I was starting to get hungry, and I set a $5,000 CBO, which is campaign budget optimization. I set it to manual bid, and I wanted to see what the accelerated manual bid would do, and it wasn't good. I turned it on and walked away from my laptop, and I came back and it had spent 4.5 grand inside of 10 minutes. at like a point something ROAS. I was like, well, fuck.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I just watched I knew something was, I had probably 50 campaigns running. And I was looking for the needle in the haystack. I'm like, what is plummeting right now? Because I saw just the account performance going down. And then I finally saw the CBI. I was like, yeah,
You're
that's
lucky
it.
you didn't like walk away for a couple hours.
Yeah, that would have been bad. I see a question in the comment.
Oh yeah, someone asked here. So as I understand, Etsy is a great platform for low budget ads, and there's not a bigger output return if you invest more. Yeah, that like Etsy caps you based off SKUs, like Chris mentioned. So even if you put like a $500 budget, if they let you do that, it doesn't mean they're going to spend it.
Yeah. And the thing that I would add to that about talking about other platforms and stuff, they are great, and I would highly recommend them if you already have a store or collection that is performing well on Facebook and Instagram, because that is where like at least 70% of our revenue comes from typically. So like it is not worth your time to be like pursuing something like Etsy or Snapchat if like Facebook isn't working. Like you're never going to make like a livable income essentially from Etsy ads, spending $50 a day. So use those as an auxiliary of like, if the 70% of spend that you're putting into Facebook and Instagram is working well, you can get an extra like 10% or so from like Etsy and Snapchat. It's just like a nice little padding there. But if you need to dial in the Facebook and Instagram first in order for it to be worth it.
So it's like a supplemental thing.
Yeah.
Would you say like, do you think I mean, you haven't done too much with TikTok, but like, do you think like you could just focus on like one platform like TikTok, or do you think like you have to, if you want to get to 7 figures revenue, you gotta be on Facebook? There's no alternative.
No, there's definitely alternatives. Like I know a guy who did with like affiliates, did
Well,
seven
sorry,
figures.
with that, not with like influencer campaigns. I'm talking about paid media,
Oh,
like
okay.
paid media specifically. Do you think you could get to 7 figures with any other paid media source other than Facebook and Instagram profitably, or do you think it just either A, you haven't experienced enough, or B, you just don't know?
I would say by and large, you need to have Facebook and Instagram. I know that there are some companies, like supplement companies, that have done well with like YouTube ads, for example, that have scaled to 7 figures. But for standard physical products, I would say the general rule of thumb is that you need Facebook and Instagram to work. And but I've seen a few exceptions that have worked on other platforms
So,
like
so,
YouTube. But
so Zuck still has it locked down.
he's got it locked
Is
nice
that
and
going to
tight.
change? Eventually Zuck not going to have it locked down, and we can all get away from Facebook? Because at the end of the day, everyone hates Facebook. They're awful. Will that
Yeah,
happen?
yeah, they're awful, but they have a way of keeping users coming back to the platform. And they also have a way now that's making it kind of scary for advertisers that they're starting to push us out. Like they just instituted a new, or implemented a new ad limit. You can only run 250 ads on a new page unless you spent over 100 grand in 1 month. Then you get up to 1,000, which, so we have 1,000 on all of our pages. But like in order to get to the next limit, which is 10,000 ads, you need to spend over 1 million in a month, which we
Wow.
haven't done. They just put that in like
But
2
they
months
care about
ago.
small business. I saw that they hit me with an ad. They said Facebook cares about small business.
No, they don't. They don't care at all,
Really?
because Facebook wants, they want just bigger advertisers.
Zuck
Facebook's
said
ideal.
they care about the small businesses, Chris.
Yeah,
He's
I
not.
must.
They're not lying.
The
Trust me.
Zuckbot. No, yeah, they
The-
would never lie. No, they're probably listening right now, so I shouldn't say too much. But yeah, they're trying to push us out for sure.
well, cool stuff. We're a little past the hour here, Chris. Is there anything else you want to share with the YouTube channel / Facebook about getting into ecom, starting with Facebook, or marketing in general before we hop off here?
Yeah, my recommendation, again, back to the beginning, is Amazon is a great place to start if you have, 10 grand to invest and you're looking to quit your job, Amazon would be the place that I would start. Facebook ads a little bit sexier, so people like to head over that way, but Amazon is more tried and true. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can DM me on Instagram. Not I don't do a ton with it, but Christopher.Heckman at on Instagram is where you can contact me.
I'll drop it in the chat here for everyone. Christopher.Heckman on Insta. Cool stuff, Chris. Well, hey, really appreciate you coming on here. I'll follow up with you after this about some of the recruiting stuff if you want to hop on a call or something. And yeah, thanks for joining. This was great. My biggest takeaway was how you're going about hiring. I think that's really interesting. Minus the ecom stuff. I'm sure that was really valuable to a lot of people that are just getting started. So again, can't thank you enough, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Cool stuff. I'll talk to you later. Everyone that joined today's live stream, if you have additional questions, feel free to hit me on Instagram at Mike Black. What is it, Monday? So you got the week ahead of you. Go crush it. I will see you guys in next week's live stream.